Hello, everybody.
Hi everyone.
We're here today to talk about the cost of living in Bahrain versus what you get back for it. And we understand that this topic is something which has quite a wide variety of opinions. So we're going to tell you what we think about it after living here for nearly 2 years. And, maybe you can share with us what you think about it as well. So one thing I thought I would start off with is when I think about the cost of living in any particular country around the world, is I think about what we call the Human Development Index, and so this is the HDI, which is determined by these places such as the World Bank or the IMF. It's sort of like a measure of sort of how developed a country is, and this is directly correlated to what is the cost of living in this country. So Bahrain happens to be rated at an 87.5, which is considered on the scale of very high. So as far as other GCC countries, this puts Bahrain tied with Saudi Arabia, and the only Gulf country which exceeds 90 is the UAE. So you really have to take that in mind right off the start, is that if you're comparing to various countries elsewhere in the world, is the HDI is going to be higher or lower, and then this will automatically have some factor into the cost of living.
So again, just want to do the disclaimer is this is all our personal experience based on something we either experienced ourselves or we heard it from somebody else based on the past 2 years we live here. So different people think different things. So this is just what we thought and then what we think about it. Yeah, and then also today is the first day of Ramadan, so Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan Kareem. And so just one thing about just a bit of a side topic is Bahrain is considered a very, what we call an open and tolerant country. So this means that for people who are outsiders such as ourselves, is we also need to be open and tolerant as well, especially during Ramadan. So we need to be familiar with exactly how this differs from elsewhere or other times in the year, and there are certain things which we need to do at this time of year also.
Yep.
So the first thing I thought I would address is if you're coming to Bahrain from a Western country, is how does this relate to cost of living? And as I mentioned earlier, is about the Human Development Index, is what if you're coming from a country with a higher Human Development Index, maybe somewhere in the 90s, then how does this relate to the cost of living in Bahrain? So my experience with this, and my opinion, is if you're going to come here and bring a lot of your same consumption habits and the stores you want to shop at and the places you want to go and things you want to do, then you could actually run into a higher cost of living in Bahrain. And what I mean by that is if you want to go to the mall, and if you want to buy, like, let's say, go to the Nike store, you want to buy some shirt, and you want to go for dinner at the Cheesecake Factory, you want to, what's another example? Maybe like you...
Just any of the really big brand stuff, I would say. Yeah, you're going to be spending way more than you would in, like the other countries.
So basically anything with a Western label in like a packaged item is likely to be more expensive here. So a lot of this thing about cost of living with us is that it made us completely adjust a lot of our consumption habits, and we're doing other things which we used to not do so much. Like we're not going and eating at certain restaurants anymore, and we're eating more sort of fresh food.
Yes.
So
yes.
Fresh food and things which are grown in the region are significantly more cheaper than you would normally expect to have it in other countries for the same product. So what did you notice about the food topic?
Okay, yes, so that's my favorite topic actually. Okay, so I really want to talk about the central market and also the fish market and then the actual farms you would go. So even before we moved here, and I already, we already researched about the central market and then the fish market. It's all kind of together. So for the central market, they sell pretty much everything by the bulk. So you could buy like a whole box of things. It's kind of getting hard to control. Sometimes you get everything, saw everything so fresh, it's just so hard to control yourself not to buy like a lot. And then the price is amazing. Just like, I will tell you a few things in general. One of the things I noticed is for some reason it's really cheap in here. It's actually arugula. They don't call it arugula in this region. I can't remember the name for it. But for 100 fils, which is like 0.1 BD, and then you get like maybe 5 to 7 bunches. Like a bunches is about like maybe this big and then this much. It's actually really, really cheap compared to like how much I used to have to pay for arugula. And then the fish, holy, you have to see the fish market. The variety of the fish, like how, amazing they look and how fresh they are. And then most importantly, it's just like they're all wild caught. And then compared to the ones, we used to buy in the grocery store, they're like frozen. A lot of them are farmed, but in here they're all fresh and wild caught. And then that's like, I would say really the best part of the fish. And then the variety is amazing. And then with the actual farms, there's a few farms we actually go to. There's some beside the fort, if you're familiar like with the Bahrain forts. And then you basically, in the winter season, because that's kind of the growing season here, summer's way too hot. And then you go there, you basically just, look at the vegetable you want, like either be broccoli, cauliflower, kale. Oh, the kale's so good. And then you just say like, I want this one. They just cut it off for you. There's even potatoes. They dig it out for you. Like, come on, how much fresher you can get than that, right? Yeah. And then there's also another thing is you can go like catch crabs yourself. Yes, catch crabs yourself. But you gotta be careful because there's certain months of the year you're not allowed to do so. But the rest of the time, and then you just go to the ocean like when the tide, like you gotta go to when it's like a low tide at night, and then to catch crabs yourself. And then also if you make friends with like a fisherman, then there you go. You get like super fresh fish and fresh crabs and everything. Yeah.
Was it in May? I think is the month. I believe that's.
I think it was about
there is a period
3 months,
of time where I think it's a breeding period for crab, or there's a month to 6 weeks somewhere that you're not allowed to catch the crab.
I thought it's 3 months actually.
Oh, really? That long? Okay.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I have to research on that, but yeah.
But yeah, we did notice that if you are able to switch to what like off of your sort of habits you used to have and switch into more of what local people will have, then your cost of living will drop significantly.
I have to add something in here. This is like totally my personal experience, and then you're totally aware of this. When we first got here, it's a brand new country. I don't really know what are the food varieties here, and then the prices. I was actually really upset at the really beginning because I feel like all the things I'm used to, I want to go buy it. They're ridiculous expensive. And then the seasonings and then the spices I'll try to look for, they're just either be not available or they're really pricey. And then I started to through time and then like kind of incorporate about like the local ways of eating, like making friends, and then seeing what are the local ways, and then like really like the food is just so amazing. The choices we have and then the varieties we get to experience is absolutely amazing. Yeah.
I think one time didn't we try making some kind of steak we bought somewhere, and it was like I can't remember what store we're at, but it's like we bought this steak that was not even that good, and then it was so expensive. And we're just
and it was terrible.
We're like, oh man. And then so now it's just like if you're gonna be shopping at a Losra or something, or like you got to kind of open it up a little bit, unless you're willing to pay the extra money for all this stuff, like some people are. If you want to go buy a birthday cake or something, or pastries or these type of thing, like
fancy, really
especially
fancy ones,
there's going to be some very expensive ones you'll run into, but it's this is really all about kind of what else can you find.
Yes. Another thing I want to mention is the food variety. So this is when you go to like the supermarket, for example, Lulu or Carrefour, and sometimes especially Lulu actually, they will have some kind of festival, many different type of festival. And for example, when they had the mango festival, I honestly never seen that many varieties of mango in my life. I thought mango is just mango and that's it. But there's actually so many different varieties, and then a lot of them are from India. Like even within the different provinces of India, they have like different ones too. Like not just mango. I can't remember what else. Like the different festival, they presents different food. And also like on all the vegetables and fruit, they actually tell you where the country of origin. So I think majority I see there's a lot of fruit and vegetable from from Egypt, India, Pakistan,
Turkey.
Oh, right, Turkey. Oh, yeah, by the way, the pomegranate. Yes, that's the other one is the pomegranate. Yeah, again, I never knew there was that many different, varieties of pomegranate. And then so far we found the best one is actually from Oman. No, sorry, Yemen.
Yemen.
Yeah,
So
the best one is from Yemen. Yeah, sorry, Oman do not have pomegranates. Yeah, so Yemen, and then so the Yemen, the Turkey, and also India pomegranate.
yeah,
And Egypt.
well, like
Those are the ones
it is
that are
normal
so good.
it is normal to walk into a supermarket basically anywhere in the world and have them tell you where it's from. But it's just that we noticed that there's, although the region is a lot of items are coming from within a certain number of 100 kilometers, maybe 500 or 1,000, but there's a huge taste variety in where exactly that country is coming, the produce from that country. And I think that's why they really emphasize, and everything is very clearly labeled,
Yes.
because I think people actually prefer a certain taste over others. Like, for example, she just mentioned the pomegranate, and so we just think the Yemen pomegranate by far is superior to any other country. So
Yes.
we always buy this in bulk at the central market when they do have it in season. So that's definitely a thing. So it's just that, like, especially with India, is such a superpower when it comes to agriculture. Is just within India, a lot of this stuff becomes available in Bahrain. It's just that on its own has so much variety right there. So one other important topic in cost of living is when you're driving your car or truck, what is the cost of that? And we notice in Bahrain here that it's significantly less cost with your insurance of your vehicle and also the fuel of your vehicle. So the fuel price in Bahrain I believe is one of the lowest in the world. Like, I think Venezuela beats it out, and there's a few others, but it's definitely in the top, I would say top 10 to top 5 lowest price for fuel.
A quick note there, just for price wise, and we noticed it cost us half of what we used to have to pay to fill up the car, which is about the same gas tank liter. Yeah.
Yeah,
half.
but we did hear that the price actually used to be even much lower than it is right now. So it's really about what you're used to, because I know people who they say they're like, oh, it's actually expensive, and I'm like, well, maybe compared to what it used to be, but this is really all about your perspective. So it's kind of like I was saying earlier, is that we believe that if you're just looking locally, of course, prices go up and down, and we think that at this point in time, which is we're in March of 2023, inflation has been a big issue around the world for a couple of years now, and the inflation rate, even the numbers which the government comes out with, is Bahrain actually has it pretty good. I believe the inflation rate is somewhere around 3 to 4% right now, somewhere in that range. And if you look at some places on the higher end of it, like the UK, for example, they still have 10% inflation.
Yeah,
and
yes.
I believe North America has come down to 6 or 7%, but it's still very high. And so this is an issue around the world, and you have to kind of keep that in perspective when you see prices go up and down in Bahrain. And I notice, just back to the fruits and vegetables, I notice a lot of those prices have actually come down significantly from when they were the most expensive.
Good point. Yeah, good point. Very good point. Yes, because the apples we used to pay around I think we used to pay around maybe like 500-600 fils, and then at one point it went up to like 1 point something, and now it's came back down again. And so is guava and pears. Yeah, because those are the things we buy more often at the grocery stores. Yeah.
One other topic which has also a wide variety of opinions is the cost of utilities, and here in Bahrain we're talking about the EWA bill. So the
which
EWA,
is
this is
electricity and water.
Yeah, so electricity and water is combined into one bill, and this is something which you could say just because the amount of electricity you'd have to use in the summertime is you could actually end up paying quite a lot of money for this if you're not careful. I know the unit cost of the electricity and the water, I don't think that's really that bad. Like, I think the water costs, that's quite reasonable, I would say.
Yeah, even though you think about, this is like a desert region in the Middle East, you thought water would be really expensive, but I don't quite feel this is the case comparatively.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
well,
Yeah.
it's definitely when it comes to utilities, is everything comes down to the summer heat and how much of that energy you're using with that. So
But the good thing is like there's no gas here, like for to heat up your home in the winter, because winter is so pleasant in here. And then so in the winter your EWA bill it's very low.
yeah,
So it's
well,
kind of in a reverse. If you're coming from somewhere really cold, if you have to heat up your home in the winter time, and then like you will have to pay lots. But in here we kind of like the reverse. Just in the summer you're gonna using more AC. And
Well, here's something which, if you are a citizen here, then you get subsidized rates, which
yes.
you're going to pay a lot less than we
A
will.
lot less.
So now that we've covered a little bit about cost of living and sort of what you're paying and what you can expect to pay, now we want to say a little bit about what you can make here, because obviously when it comes to cost of living, the most important thing is how much money is you're actually making, because if the cost of living is high or the cost of living is low, this is directly related to sort of not so much how much money you're making, but how much money you can actually keep, which is more important. So for us, like we're not actually employed in Bahrain. We're kind of remote workers, so our visa is a little bit different. But in Bahrain, you need to, if you want to have a residence permit based on your employment, then you're going to need an employment sponsor for this. And if you're somebody who you're watching this video and maybe you're a local person, you're a Bahraini, a lot of people I heard and I've experienced myself and talked to people is that when they finish their school, their university, they've become fully certified in a certain field, is they have to face this choice of do they stay here and try to work and get a job, or are they going to go abroad and work? So this is where I think, or at least I hope, that you can take some of the information in this video and consider things like, we said earlier that the UK is facing a 10% inflation right now. So this should be a factor in your decision, because in Bahrain, I believe, as far as I know, is that the wages are not quite as high as certain outside countries. However, we feel like you're actually able to keep more money here compared to.
Yes.
So it's like if your salary is up here, but your expenses are up here, then are you really getting too far? So this is our point, is that we feel that in the end, you gotta think that Bahrain might actually be better than the other places, because whatever your wages are at, your expenses are not going to be here. They're going to be here, but again, depending on your consumption habits.
Yes, key is consumption habits.
Yeah. So another thing we believe is that Bahrain is very good for business. And this is something that we're starting to investigate ourselves. And we're going to make more videos in the future. We're going to start some low-risk business, and we're going to go to the ministry. We're going to try to get the approval for a CR. And we're going to try to document everything in case you're interested in our experience of how that's going to go. So, maybe you can talk a bit about like there's a very entrepreneurial spirit here, actually. So,
yes.
We think that, and I think there's even some, like the ministry says, business-friendly Bahrain, they like to say so.
Yes. Well, I just feel the whole atmosphere in Bahrain about having your own business is wonderful. So far, all the people we know and then we make friends with in here, pretty much everybody have more than one thing going on. So that means they all have a regular job, and on the side they have like one business, or maybe even two, maybe even three. Like they're not big business. We're all talking about like small business. But you know what? Small business is what really make up like the world a lot of the times. Not those huge corporations.
Yeah.
At the end, it's about like kind of regular people like every day, and then that's what build the country. So when you talk to people and then they're also proud of their business, and then they're asking, what's your business? And yeah, so that's really made me feel like, personally, I feel like, wow, you know what? Having a business is really not that big of a deal. You really can do it. Like people encourage you doing it. And then if you're a Bahraini, and then there's something called, I think it's called a productive family. And but that's like only for Bahraini. So government will actually help you. This are for some of like the people who just want to start like a very small home-based business. For example, making food, certain type of like a traditional food, and then I don't think they require a CR for that. But again, like you have to be Bahraini for that, so we're not qualified for that.
Yeah, well, you gotta we know quite a handful of people who they say that this country is very untapped. They call it when it comes to business. So there are a lot of opportunities here, we believe, and this is less like where exactly you're from in the world, like what's your home country. At this point, this becomes less important because whether you're from Asia or Europe or North America, Australia, whatever, like this is really you have a chance here to fairly easily open a business, and I think that might be one reason why somebody might have a job and a business on top of that, because maybe their wages, like we said earlier, is like the wages might not be up here, but the expenses are not up here either. So if you have a job and a business, then it's a good way of supplementing your income.
Yes. And that actually leads to the next question about the people. It's like the people you meet in Bahrain. Well, first, so far all the Bahraini people we met, they're just so sweet and they're so welcoming you here. And then like, so in where I'm from, we have kind of like a terminology. We said, these are the people you give them like a small little carrots and then they will return you 10 huge carrots. And then they're doing it really from the bottom of their heart. And they're just so nice. I met so many ladies like that. They really made me feel like I'm so welcoming here, and then they really appreciate it. I'm here, and it's such a warm and great feeling. And also with the expats, because people are here, they're from everywhere, right? And then when you meet somebody, you have a conversation with them, they always bring new ideas, new experience, and they're like new, adventure. It's very exciting, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying, if you live somewhere for your whole life, you meet people from that area, it's not exciting. But it's just like, because these are all new, as humans, we like kind of new things and new adventures, want to hear from it. And then of course, go experience yourself as well. Then that part really kind of excites us.
One other thing we noticed living here in Bahrain is that the customer service is in general very good, and the service attitude is very good. And we're talking about restaurants, shops, these kind of things. Is they actually, we feel, really appreciate you sitting at the table, and you're there at the restaurant, and just by the way, the shisha is really nice as well. This is just a bit of a thing going on lately that in the Western countries is the government is actually getting a bit too involved in this situation. Is they change people's wages around who are in the service industry, and they structure, when it comes to tipping, is they've really kind of made a bit of a almost like a monster, in our opinion, on this topic. Is that it's at the point where you're not really appreciated that much as a customer, and that employee who's working in the restaurant or in a shop, they're just doing the minimum to get by, and it seems like it's getting to the point where basically anything you do stepping outside of your house almost is you got to give a tip in a lot of the Western countries now. So in Bahrain, we also believe in tipping as well. However, we just notice a huge difference in attitude, and I think that's really important.
Yes, they generously, they do really show you feel they're really happy, and then about they appreciate you're there.
And just a little side topic here is, when you're going to pay for your dinners or whatever, we really love the Bahrain banking system of the payment apps, the credit cards, this whole all the prepaid credit cards. Is the rewards are very good on those credit cards, and the fees are very low as well. So they really incentivize you to do a lot of this usage of these apps. Benefit pay is a huge thing, and we really think convenient. And we really notice that Bahrain is definitely a leader when it comes to this kind of financial technology apps, and a lot of these really creative. There's one just recently came out as a multi-currency card. That's because we actually had a lot of big problems in the past traveling. Is how to get the local currency and where you're traveling. So
because all the GCC countries are so close by, then if you're in Bahrain, you have to go the other neighbor brothers and then to check it out, right?
And so they there's local companies that made it way easier to kind of get the money and to set it up for traveling. So we really noticed that as well.
Yeah.
And in Bahrain, if you're somebody who wants to have a nanny or maybe a driver or some extra help around your house, we're not one of those people. But what do you think about that? I think
It's
you know more.
way more affordable, I would say, compared to North America. And yeah, I feel like if you're a middle class family, and then even though you're so busy every day, swamped up, and then you really need somebody to give you a helping hand, like taking care of your child, and then maybe do a little bit cleaning here and there, you're gonna literally pay an arm and leg for it.
Yeah.
But in here, just based on my knowledge, again, this is just like my personal knowledge by talking to people. I can't say this is the price for everybody. And then I would say to get like a stay-home nanny, actually live with you and maybe have 1 day off a week, and then it's about 200 BD, give and take, give or take. Yeah, because it's like different people pay differently according to the nannies and exactly what they do and stuff. But in general, it's affordable. And then also the as you mentioned, the drivers. Yes, you can have driver, for example, go pick your kids up and drop your kids off and stuff like that. It's really affordable as well. With that, I don't know the exact price, and then but all I know is yes, it is affordable if that's something you wanted to do in Bahrain.
And we also have something to say about medical expenses, because that's also very important wherever you're living. We made a previous video a while ago where we talked about our health insurance that we bought, and thankfully we haven't had to use it yet, but we did have to go to some clinics. Like we haven't actually, well, thankfully haven't had to use
like a hospital,
like an actual hospital, or had any kind of major stuff going on.
Yeah.
But we have used for some just sort of like minor illnesses which needed some medical attention. So so far we're actually very impressed at, and I think I even read the other day that Bahrain might even be considered starting to be a medical tourism spot, which the kind of outside people are coming here to get procedures done. So you were the one that went to the clinic.
Yes,
so
So I'll tell you my personal experience. It was I was super sick one time, and then been coughing for a few days, and then just getting worse and worse. I'm like, you know what, I have to go see a doctor. Like I hated seeing going to clinics, but it's get to a point I just have to. So we went. Actually, it was 10:30 at night. It was 10:30 at night, and then I got there. The fee to see a doctor is 3 BD. Whatever currency you want to exchanging to later, you do the math yourself. And then right away, I got taken to the nurse station, and then got my blood pressure checked, and I got my temperature checked. And then they said, okay, so just sit down, and then I sit down for less than a minute, and then the doctor called me. So it was just so quick and so fast. And then the most amazing thing here is I never felt the whole time like anybody was rushing me, how I used to feel I just felt every time I go see a doctor, because there's so many people behind me, they want to see the doctor, and then it takes forever to actually see one. They always try to rush you. But this, and then for this 2 times I went, the doctor was so sweet, and then he explained these are different people we're talking about, not like the same doctor, but they all both experience is they both very patient, very very patient. They answer all the questions I have, and then such amazing attitude.
Well, I think
it was such a great experience.
It's worth mentioning that people who are not from here, we choose to live here, and I think it's worth mentioning that we're familiar with a few countries which have a nationalized healthcare system where the government will pay for 100% of the entire public, no matter what your situation is. So it's a lot of people will compare this, because in Bahrain you do have to pay money unless you have your own insurance package. Then depending on what your insurance will cover, then that'll determine if you have to pay anything. But still, it's you got to consider this goes back to kind of you're getting what you pay for, and the cost here, based on our experience those few times that we used it, is pretty reasonable, and it's totally worth it, because the waiting times are basically nothing.
Nothing.
And it's a thing with a lot of the places which have a national healthcare system is the system is
You wait
currently,
forever.
especially these days after COVID and like there's a
Yes.
lot of issues going on, is the waiting times are going to be very high. And the doctor is we've had this experience as well. Like once you're done waiting for so long, then the doctor is going to want to like boom get you out of there
Yes. Oh,
as quickly as possible.
I know.
And it's really not the case here. Is they do put more attention into the patient, and you do
Actual
have to pay a
caring,
little bit of
yes.
money. Yes, you do, but it's okay.
One of the thing I noticed, different clinic, excuse me. One of the thing I noticed, different clinics actually charge different prices. The one I went, and then it's a brand new one they opened. They might having some kind of promotion. It's 3BD, but there was another one I have to go for some other reason, another time. It's about 7BD. So it is different, you know, if you're willing to do the research and talk to people you know in here, and then you will find, you know, the clinics doesn't cost a lot. And then yeah, well, actually, in general, they don't really cost like huge, like they don't really cost a lot in general, but it just, you know, some are way more and some are way less. Yeah, so if as long as you're willing to do the research yourself, then yeah, that's affordable. We'll say, yeah. And then the medication cost me around 2.5 BD. Seeing the doctor cost 3 BD, so like 5 point something BD. And there's another time I have to go for some other reason. It cost me, I have to do a blood test. So that cost me around, in total, about 12 BD at the end with the blood test and seeing the doctor and the medication.
Yeah, and
So that's in
like
general, yeah.
a lot of clinics have really good promotions too. They'll put out
Ooh, yes, the
advertising. They
promotions.
kind of
Yes.
they have they'll promote on Instagram. Like they'll have you know, everybody should go for a checkup at some point, maybe once a
Yes.
year. So like they'll put out promotions that you can get all your tests done and everything.
Yeah, like for example, when it's like around the breast cancer month, and then they will have something, you know, regarding on ladies, and then like different things like for the examination, they will have a, you know, for a good promotion price. And when it comes to November with the males like prostate cancer, they have something, you know, related to that part as well for the promotion. Yes.
When it comes to relaxation in Bahrain and just like different things you can do and places you can go, so I think it's important to note here that a lot of the big corporations have not fully sort of, for lack of a better word, is infected the the country.
The Middle East, yeah.
So you can go places and you get a lot of places which, as you would say, has a soul.
Has
right?
a soul, yes. Well, you know, of course, you got like McDonald's, Starbucks, all these big corporations around, but there's also a lot of small, you know, coffee shops because, well, we're in the Middle East country, right? So alcohol is not promoted here. So instead of drinking alcohol, that's the way to, you know, like go out with friends and stuff. And then so they have so many coffee shops. You should see like some of the coffee shops. They look like amazing. They look like super bright, and there's like 2 floors and then full, you know, glass windows. Like the whole
like
thing is made out of glass.
Like if you look at it from the outside, you would think it's like the Apple Store or something.
I know,
like,
and then this is just a
it's
coffee
like,
shop.
Oh, it's just a coffee shop.
Yeah, and then the coffee varieties they got in there, it's just like it's not the same as you go to Starbucks or McDonald's or like I don't know where like a Caribou or like Dunkin' Donuts and places like this. So as I always say to my husband, I say, you know, I feel like the shop actually have a soul. And then not just the coffee shop, there's a lot of shops they sell like small shop, they sell like traditional stuff, and then they all have their unique characteristics. So that's something we really appreciated about here. And then of course, if you're in the region, then you have to try the shisha. And so it's something like will really kind of chill you out and relax you out as well without the alcohol influencing
I think
there.
like coffee is a bit expensive though. I think it's I kind of, for me, I don't think it, like I'm not too much of a like I like occasional coffee, but I'm not. I just feel it is a bit expensive here to have a coffee. Like you're looking at minimum like a BD and a half probably, like
somewhere there. Yes.
Yeah,
But it's still at the end of the day it's cheaper than alcohol though.
that's true.
Yeah, if you want to, you know, chill out with friends and stuff, and instead of going to a bar and have a drink, and you go to a coffee shop and have a coffee.
Well, alcohol is allowed here. I guess that's kind of leads into our next topic, is the openness of Bahrain, which, you know, you can have alcohol. It's not promoted on the same level that other places will be doing it, but it is something which you can do. That's going to be more expensive as well if you're into alcohol stuff.
Yes. And also the new exhibition center. yeah, like bring a few points about that. It's newly built, like just opened. I think
we've been to it a few times. It's a very nice building. Like I believe it's the latest Middle East or Gulf countries anyway, largest meeting center.
It's very beautiful and they're super big and bright. Yeah. And there's a lot of free events going on there too. Like, well, there was the jewelry events and then the property events and also the garden events. That was just the past 3 we went, and then yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, so it's not really so much about the cost of living, but it's just one out of many places which has events which are easy to get into, and they're either low cost or free.
Yes. All right, so just to wrap up our video, and then as we mentioned at the beginning of the video, these are all our personal experience and personal feelings about here. So it's not like these are facts. It's again, these are just, you know, our thoughts. Mm-hmm. So we feel like as long as you are open-minded about the country, and then I don't know how to say this part. You please go.
I think it's the most important is being open-minded, and you know, we covered a lot of things in this video. I know some of you are going to disagree with certain things we say, because we do know people who they think that Bahrain is incredibly expensive to live in, and it's just we completely disagree, and we think that the difference between us and others is that we have very high adaptability, and we can switch to a lot of ways that the locals are living, and we're happy about it.
I learned so many local dishes as well, and they're all very delicious, and they're not like ridiculous difficult to cook as well. So yeah, it's about the open-mindedness and then your own adaptability.
Yeah.
Adaptability? Yeah. And yeah, so there's one thing I always tell Neil about is there's like I call it the happiness index. So for me, my happiness index in Bahrain is very, very high. So we're truly happy living here, and then there's so many things for the past 2 years, and then it really makes us feel, you know, life is good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
lack of better word. Yeah, life is good in here. We do really enjoying here, the food, the people, the culture, the environment.
Yeah, so I think that's about it. And just leave a comment below. What's your thought? Like, do you, if you live here, then what do you think about the cost of living here? And do you agree with the points that we're saying? And that's really about it for us, I think.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Ramadan Kareem. Bye.
Bye-bye.